now's the time. Round of applause. Make it loud. Make it loud.
Hi, girls. Come on in. Here we go.
We did the can last year on the stage.
Did you? Did you?
So, very badly.
Let's do it Yeah, very, very badly, but you know, we were doing what we could to get them to stay awake.
Questions? All right, let's go.
That's it. Thanks for having me.
That was
Great!
Your shoes match.
Who, huh?
Your shoes match. Sort of.
No, mine are teal and his are blue.
Is that a teal color?
That's teal. That's
Isn't
teal.
teal like a green? Am I
That's
crazy?
teal. That's teal, man. That's
It's
100%.
blue to me.
It looks blue to me.
I'm agreeing
That
with you.
is teal.
Wait, hold them up next
Not
to
gonna
you guys.
argue.
What?
Not gonna argue.
Hold them up to his eyes, she said.
Boone, that's a very nice shirt. Look at Boone's shirt. How nice is that shirt?
This is a different style. I've never
Very different
styled.
style. He's rocking it today.
I am so rocking it.
Okay, so before I geek out about other things, most of us I know are here for Sons of Anarchy, yeah? Yes,
That's a point for what?
exactly. American Satan for you and Silent Hill for you.
Sure.
For me. But we're talking about Sons of Anarchy first. Let's hear, how did you get involved? What was your audition like? What happened?
Booney, did you have to
Are you
audition?
sitting on your mic?
Huh?
There was a mic on your
I
chair,
mean,
so
I don't.
I think you're
can
sitting
never-
on it.
you can hear it.
I just burnt the microphone.
Came right out of my ass. Wow. That was so impressive.
But
I don't think Booney had to audition. I think you're the only one who didn't.
Kim,
Did you?
You're out of your fucking mind.
Did you? Oh, you know I'm out of my mind.
Okay, no, I mean, as well known among the
Tell
people who know about the show, Kurt Sutter did not want me to be involved. So he, even though Wendy O'Brien, who cast the show, I got one.
There you go.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah,
Right, my voice. So,
Wendy
O'Brien.
And Wendy O'Brien, when they were casting the show, they Kurt and whatever
John
Linson, who were putting the show together, they auditioned casting directors. So casting people would come in and say, "This is who should play this role. This is who should play this role. This is who should play this role." Well, Wendy O'Brien, who ended up casting the show, was given the job because she brought my picture in to play Bobby Munson. And John Linson, who was in control of the show at that time, said, "This is the girl to cast the show." So, meantime, 4 months goes by, and Kurt is trying to get an actual Bobby Elvis impersonator to be cast as Bobby. And he put up 3.
A real singer? Like that you're not a singer because you are.
I am.
But a singer? Like
not
what
like
kind
a
of-
Bobby, like a guy
Elvis impersonator.
who would walk around he wanted a guy who would, break into into Elvis before he was gonna kill somebody. I don't know, whatever.
What a
He
fucking
actually
nightmare
took
that
3, exactly, he took,
Show.
no, he took 3 Elvis impersonators all the way to the people who, there's like 15 people executives, you gotta go in and you do your show. So 4 months goes by, and all the people who were, everybody rejected all his choices, and finally John Linson is like, "Okay, can we bring in Boone now?" And so I came in, and Kurt and and John and I talked about it, and then I had to do my shit in front of the.
Thank God you got the part. There you go. That's the fucking truth.
That's how that happened.
I actually auditioned for Clay, for Bobby, and for a character that wasn't real yet called Hawk. And so I had 3, and it became very obvious that I wasn't right to play Bobby. I was too young to play Clay, beside Katie Seagal. So I got nothing. I didn't get the show at all. And Boone shoots the original pilot.
Right, we shot the original pilot with Scott Glenn playing Clay, and Emilio Rivera playing Hawk. And they put it together, and they decided they didn't like that combination. And so then they cast Ron Perlman as Clay. And then in the very last minute of the reshooting of the pilot with Perlman as Clay, they cast him, and they changed Emilio to the president of the Mayans, and they got rid of Hawk and came up with.
Was that Emilio's name in the pilot? Was it Hawk?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, they decided to recast Clay and the Sergeant at Arms, and Ronnie and I started on the exact same morning. We got cast literally 2 days before it started filming, and I had no hair. I had nothing on my face, super short. Knew who he was, but had never worked with Boone before. And my first day of set, I'll never forget, Sutter, who, when they offered me the part, said, "You do ride." Like, you can't fucking lie about riding a motorcycle. Certainly not a Harley, and show up the next day. I said, "No, I do ride." And the first day of the actual reshoots were Boone, me, Perlman, and the black actor, so fucking good. What was his name?
The sheriff, the guy who was the sheriff.
No, in the park. We went to the park. He was part of the group, part of the drug. In the first, the Niners.
Oh, we were in that cart.
Yeah, down in Silver Lake kind of park.
No, Echo Park.
Echo Park, exactly. Anyway, it was just a big learning experience for me, because Boone had already shot the pilot 3 months earlier, and they put it all together, and when I got to set, they threw all this Hells Angels material at me, and we talked about rings and how to look and all that shit, and the rest is history, yeah.
And do you guys have a favorite moment or episode for your characters?
I always defer to my big brother on that.
What, me?
Yeah.
You have.
Kim got the best material in the show, other than Charlie and Katie. I think that's very obvious. He had so many things to, the fear of dolls, and his daughter gets burned up. These are the kind of things that actors like to have the opportunity to play. And he had very many opportunities to play good things, and he really performed quite well. As far as, it's kind of hard for me, but there was a scene that Charlie and I did that where we were talking about killing Clay. We just did the scene that we wanted to do, which you can't do in television very often, but we just, that was like in season, must have been in
6.
4, now it was in like in 4 or 5, I think. And, the whole crew was crying, and it was a great scene, and that never really made it into the show, which is
No, No.
It's in the
No.
It's in the show. but
It
it's-
was in the show because I saw the fucking show with Theo Rossi, you know, all those episodes of the Reaper Review. So I'm like him. I'd never seen the show really. I'd seen a third of them. I'm not sure Boone's even seen
Like
that.
12.
You've seen 12. I'd seen 30. But when I did those Reaper Reviews, I saw the whole show, all of them, and that scene was in the.
I know it's in the thing, but
But
it's
not
not
the way-
in the, you know, I mean, it was not, it's totally truncated.
Right.
Absolutely. Because, I mean, and, you know, this is Kurt's choice, but he, you know, he didn't really like the show of emotion a lot. You know, particularly you know, there was a real angle that he had, particularly about Charlie's character, where he just didn't want Charlie to show certain kinds of emotions. And Charlie definitely showed a lot of emotion in that scene that we did. But that was my favorite scene.
And part of the thing, and Boone is bringing this up, you guys don't know this really, but fuck me. I mean, every script was 58 pages, 56, 62, and usually it's a minute per page on average. There was so much cut from what we filmed. There was so much left on the floor from what we filmed. We just got so used to filming and going, well, this isn't gonna make it. This isn't gonna make it.
Yeah, but okay, man. The fact is, there's 42 minutes of material that goes into a regular hour of cable television. That means all the rest of the hour is ads. What started happening with the Sons is they just started playing way over an hour. It started, it was like 10 minutes, then it was 15, then it was 20, then it was like an hour and a half. We were only getting paid for 42 minutes of material while shooting, you know, 60.
Those were the last 2 years.
Not 2 years, man. That started way before that. Way before. And no other show, they don't do, I mean, it literally says in our contract, we are getting paid for a 60-minute show. And, you know, whatever. It's ridiculous, but, because that's all ad stuff. They just added ads and ads and ads and ads and ads and material and material. We never got paid for it. But we never got paid for anything. We never got a penny for streaming. Probably a billion people saw Sons of Anarchy on Netflix. We got zero. And we'll continue to get zero. Because it's not in our contract from that time.
Yep. So since Kim has seen all the episodes now, is there anything that you would have changed about your character development now that you've gotten to see it all as a whole?
Probably not. I mean, I don't fucking know. I'm just glad I was in the thing. I'm glad that I got the friendships that I got from the thing. I'm glad that I got to pay for my daughter's education and bought a house from the thing. You know, I'm like Boone. I came from film. I'm a film guy. I've never done a regular on a television show in my life. I've done arcs, but never wanted to be a regular on a television show. And so I'm glad I said yes to that one. There was tons of fights. It was not perfect at all, but we ended up loving one another. We all did. We all fucking did. We all ended up loving one another on that show, and I'll never, ever forget that. We're all gonna be dead someday, so I'm happy to say that I'm glad I was on that show. And I'm glad I saw the show. Because before I saw the show, I never really understood the love of that show, because it just seemed so violent. That last season to me, I said to Charlie, you know, when he gets captured and kidnapped and poking eyes out and Charlie's killing everybody, I said to Hunnam, who are we killing and why now? And he goes, Coach, if you don't know, I don't know. Like, it was just a Sutter massacre. It was a massacre. And so for all of you lovers of Sons, and you should be, it's a great show, I gotta tell you, from shooting it was way too violent for me. It got way too over the top for me. But that's the way that show ended, and at that time, There was 5 big hits on television, and that was one of them, and that's why Boone and I are up here today because of that. So.
You guys had, so much time with these characters, so I would love to know if you could give your characters one piece of advice, what would it be?
Don't you love these questions? It's like,
This one I don't. I mean,
we don't even know how to
Because-
answer shit
see,
like
because
that.
yeah, I mean, I have more improvisational lines in the show because I just refuse to not do things that I felt were necessary. That not very many. There's still not very many because that isn't how that show was made. It was, yeah, and it's not unusual for a television show anyway to not get improvisational lines. Most television shows because they go through a whole series of approval of content and blah 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 blah. But so to say, I mean, he talked about violence. I made a very 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 specific choice about how Bobby would deal with violence from the very beginning. And I made it very clear that Bobby was not in favor of violence, that was not necessary. And when he, did violent things, it was done with precision and without, pleasure. And that was, a very specific choice that I made about how I would deal with this because the violence was just out of control. And there were so many things, of course, that I would have liked to have seen in this series that aren't there. I mean if you count the number of scenes that Bobby has with Kim and with Tig, that Bobby has with Tommy, we were not given that kind of stuff. Most of it was always through Charlie, or always through Katie, or always through, Ron.
Right, yeah.
And that was just, I just think that could have been a lot richer thing but it's plot driven, not so much of it. And then, there's the cliffhangers and they're very successful kind of television. Obviously, people are just still talking about it years and years and years later.
Do we have any audience questions?
Did you have consultants, any biker or somebody like that come in?
DL was you know who that is? The guy who played Happy.
Happy.
He was a Hell's Angel when we started the show.
He was like the consultant then?
He was a consultant, and there was another Hell's Angel who was a consultant also, who's now passed.
And then they help you like train you in any
No,
riding?
no, not training. They
Were
just
you already trained?
No, what they were there for was a voice of what really happens in the 1% world, what really happens in the biker world. So when the phones are put on the pool table before we went to the chapel, things like that, or the scrap that me and Happy had in the very first episode, they would hug it out after you fucking bare knuckled it. You would always hug it out. There would always be stuff like that that DL was witness to and lived. So to have him as the buffer to the guys who were writing it was a big thing.
But all of that, for the most part, took place in the writing of the show, not with us. We're just handed a script and
Well, no,
work it out.
you all portrayed it very well, and
Good.
I've seen that, and because I'm retired law enforcement, so I've dealt with bikers, and I was really appreciative of the way you all, portrayed everything. It was actually very realistic.
Cool.
And the way you did church, and you did certain hits, and the way you talked, and certain things are just that I actually very much enjoyed.
Good. That's good.
Any other audience questions out there?
I would like to know how it was to work with Katie.
With who?
Katie?
Katie Seagal?
Fantastic. I mean, why not? She's not getting that part if she's not married to Kurt Sutter. I mean, She's, you know, from, what was that show that she did before?
Married with Children.
Right, so Married with Children. So she's not getting the part, but she was perfect. She turned out to be perfect. I
I
mean,
mean, she was so badass and just like the matriarch and lit it
She's
so
a
well.
completely not realistic character in the world of bikers. There's no biker old lady who had the kind of sway that she had. Not one. Ever. There certainly were, you know, women are influential over, you know, men and stuff like that. But in terms of traditional biker club stuff, there is no one who.
and that's the Claudius
That's-
Gertrude of Hamlet, like, form of the whole show.
Yeah.
That was, you know, Gertrude, if you know Hamlet, she ran the fucking show. And so Sutter wanted that element of Shakespeareism in that fictional world of, even though you're in law enforcement and you've seen it, and there's some truths. We'd all be in prison by the second show. We'd all be in fucking prison.
And never getting out.
And never getting out. So, not only do we appreciate, at least for me, appreciate being in that show, I understood the fictionalization of that world. But trying to make it as real as we could, that was fun. That was really fun.
Any other questions out there?
Yeah, did you keep any set pieces or artifacts from the set?
Booney.
Yeah, no, I have the first bike that I rode for 5 years. Supposedly it was a gift, but I had to pay like a lot of money in taxes, you know. We all have our cuts. Mine is in a glass case full of blood. That's pretty much all I got.
I kept my knife, I kept my bangles. I didn't keep much. I kept the bike from the show,
Did
obviously.
you buy all those? I have all my jewelry, that was all mine. The pants, everything, those are all mine.
Yeah, I didn't pay for it.
No, I bought all that, but that's because I had two
You
months.
bought your jewelry for Bobby. Yeah.
Everything,
Yeah.
all that they didn't supply it.
No. I was starting the next day after not knowing I was going to be on the show. So I was pretty, what do you have? What do you got? I mean, the bangles came later, the Tig look came later, but Jesus Christ, if you look at the pilot now.
And we all look like little
Oh,
boys.
we're like little boys. Boone's hair was as black could be. I had short
brown hair,
fucking hair.
but I never had
I
black
know,
hair.
I'm just making fun. But you were brown for sure. Yes, you missed it all. Come on right in. It's all right. We were waiting.
Did you bring dinner? Is that what
We've been waiting for you.
Jesus Christ, no love.
Any other questions, you guys?
One more. And when you did that one scene with your daughter that got burned,
Yeah.
and the emotions you displayed, where do you go? How do you create
Well,
that?
like Boone said, I mean, you know, when they do, and he never ever gives himself enough credit as playing Bobby in the show, and that's just the way he is. But I've seen every show, and Bobby was a fucking phenomenal character,
Yeah.
and it really came off well. He's never seen himself, so he'll never understand that. But that particular scene, when I remember I was in New York, we all were, we had some upfronts going on, and Sutter pulled me aside and said, so the script's coming out soon, and it's the first show of season 5, and you're gonna be chained like an animal, and your daughter's gonna die in front of you in a pit, she's gonna burn to death. And I couldn't even understand what he was saying. And so when I got the script, I didn't break down, but I was like really upset. And so I don't know if you've met him, Boone, but
He has 2 daughters.
Yeah.
and I have 2 daughters.
Not
and
really a stretch to transfer. Yeah.
No, that's right. The emotional thing was there for sure. But I remember seeing a buddy of mine, Sam Alibranda, who's a therapist, lives across the street from me in LA, and I go to him for certain questions, and I feed him really good red wine to help me out. And he read the scene, he read the whole thing, and he really did take a pause, and he just went, you know, this is going to be very, very difficult. But that whole, fight or flee, and when do you beg and when do you scream, and how does it make you feel? And I just remember going, we're going to figure out the moments, and so we did. And then I remember going to Brando, our props guys, and going, I need some leather bracelets that will, when I put the handcuffs on, because I know me, I would start to really hurt myself. And so they got me these fake leather wrists so I could have real handcuffs and pull the fuck out of that steak and not pull my hands off. So, and it was a 2-night scene. And what made me feel so good at the end of the second night was when Boone and Charlie and Tommy, if you remember, they pull up. And I'm sitting there at the end, just devastated and done and finished, and my daughter's dead and crying, and they pull up on their bikes, and there was no dialogue. And these guys made sure that they didn't see anything before they pulled up. And they just pulled up to that. And one of my favorites, it's not on me, it's on those three. On their faces, when the camera went, and that's what they did first, was to see them pull up, and they had cameras on each one of their faces. And it was something that you can't reenact, and you can't act. You either feel that shit or you don't. You're either in it or you're not. And that was a big thing for me, to have those guys come within the second night to share that incredible pain, right?
Anyone else?
Yeah, I've got a question. I'm just curious that with the characters being such a change for who you guys are, how'd you feel about your families watching, or did they?
My mother and father, they tried to watch. They didn't really, I don't think they really made it that far. Just the language alone. But,
Keep going. No, that's good.
I just, let me say, I never encouraged anybody to watch it at all. But that's,
And then,
that's kind of me anyway.
and that's Boone anyway, but we had no choice. It became a fucking hit. A massive hit. And whether we were telling my mother who's 93 with her 8 gals, watching it every Tuesday, it was so violent. Oh, it was hard to watch, but you're so good. And you just go, well, my mom's watching it. I mean, Jesus Christ. So, I don't know. I mean, he's done 1 million movies. I've done 500,000 movies. You watch things to support our work or not. Or you don't have to watch it. But if you do, we didn't have time to, it's violent, or I'm a necrophiliac, it's just acting. Like, there's no time for any of that shit. Because that show just went like that. And before you know it, Boone and I couldn't walk anywhere without being recognized. And that's certainly not why we got into this business, but that's part of it. That's just part of it.
There were a lot of character deaths. Is there anyone that shocked either of you when you got the script and found out about it, like main characters?
Well, the big one, everybody's, is with Opie and how that happened. That was his own undoing.
I'm not telling you a story. I'm not saying this.
But,
He was the first big death.
well, there's Taylor Sheridan.
I'm sorry, but I just mean as far as...
Taylor Sheridan vowed to prove, I shouldn't say this.
No, you can say whatever you want. You're Mark Quinn Jr.
That's right.
He vowed to prove that Kurt Sutter was really not very talented, because Taylor was
He played Hale.
Yeah.
Hale,
Right, the sheriff, the young sheriff.
for the first season, and then the second season, he after the first season, he asked Kurt if he was supposed to. There's characters. You're either a regular or you're a, what is it called?
Guest star.
No,
A recurring.
A recurring. and he was supposed to play 7 in 7 episodes, and he did 10. And he asked Kurt, because the difference in pay between a recurring character and a regular character is massive. And he asked Kurt, he thought he should become a regular character, and Kurt said to him, do you want to die on the show, or do you want to just be talked about as dying? Like, that was his immediate response. He was the first test case in terms of characters who were eliminated. And then there was Johnny Lewis.
Half sack.
Yeah, Johnny Lewis. The sad story of Johnny Lewis. But he, Johnny also went in and said to Kurt, look, am I gonna just talk about my one ball for the whole,
in every
whole
show.
In every show? And Kurt said,
maybe.
well, do you want to die on the show or die off, like that? So that was the second one. The third one was, what's her name?
Piney died in season 4.
Yeah, no, but the third one was Katie's best friend, my girlfriend for a minute and a half, Kurt's old lady. And she got a job offer to do a
Big
show,
movie,
The
nice
Fighter, with
film.
Wahlberg, and she was gonna play one of the sisters, and she kept trying to get Kurt to say, can I go do this? Can I go do it? According to her, she never got a response from him, so she went and did that, and she was killed off the show. That, so those, but the shocking ones, no, I don't know. There were no shocking, really. Everybody had to die basically, except for Kim
And Tommy.
And Tommy. And you were the only ones who made it. No, well, what's his name? The sheriff.
Unser. He died.
Yeah.
No,
He died?
Yeah, he
Oh,
died.
yeah, that's right.
You didn't watch the show, but he died.
I read the shows.
Did you?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. No, but Ryan, as Opie, was told before the 5th season that he was going to die, and that was certainly a shock to all of us. It certainly was to me. That was the beginning of the end of Sutter wanting to be, I don't know, I think he was always told, I think by reviewers and shit, that he didn't kill anybody. Didn't kill any lead. The Sopranos killed a lead every year. That was the Sopranos thing. Every year a major would fucking die. And I guess, forget about Lewis and all these, good characters for sure, but he didn't kill any of the massive, Opie was the first to go. And then everyone pretty much died at the end of 6 or 7, other than Chibs and Tit. That was it. Everyone died.
Supposedly, we lost a lot of people after Opie died. There was definitely a lot of
Viewers?
internet talk
Viewers.
who said.
You guys were
"Fuck
upset
that
at that,
show."
right?
Yeah.
You were pissed off at that.
I was pissed off about Bobby's death.
Well, that was like 3 episodes before the end of the show.
It still pissed me off.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Any other questions out there?
Yeah, as far as like riding the bikes, did you guys have to did any of you have experience prior to?
Only Boone, Coates, and DL. That's it. Everybody else had to learn.
Really?
I don't care what Tommy Flanagan says, he couldn't ride a fucking bike. Charlie couldn't ride a bike. Theo certainly couldn't ride a bike.
Ron absolutely should never have been on.
And how about now? Now that you guys know how to ride, you still ride?
I do. Booney rides all the time.
I ride all, but not right at the moment.
It's the
I don't
best,
have
right?
my bike.
Once you learn,
Huh?
it's the best. Once you learn how to
Yeah,
ride.
people
a
who
bike.
ride, ones that ride, gotta be safe out there, but it's nothing like it.
It's great.
Nothing like it.
So following the Hamlin thing, it should have been that Opie shouldn't have died, technically, right? If they would have followed the Hamlin story.
That's correct.
How do
He
you?
was the Horatio of the piece.
How
And he was supposed to live. In fact, he's the only one who should have lived. Everyone else should have been dead. But that was the Sutter
You can either hate it or love it. That was his genius. He always threw shit that you didn't expect. Like, I can't tell you, I thought, oh wow, it's gonna be a year of the Russians. And then they ended up killing every Russian in the first episode of season 4. Like, you couldn't figure out what he was gonna do. So, keep going. Your point?
How different do you think it would have been if Obi would have lived in the end? Would you have chosen to do that?
Would what?
Would you have chosen to do that, to keep Obi alive?
Opie was actually supposed to die in like the 3rd episode of the whole show.
Did you know that? I was supposed to kill Opie instead of Donna in the first season.
Yeah.
Opie only wanted to do 6 or 7 shows and off. And then what happened? They started.
Well, he wanted. We were. The show was turning out good, and Ryan didn't want to quit.
That's what happened. Ryan realized, can I not die now? I'm having a good time.
That's what happened.
Pretty much what happened.
No, that is what happened.
That's right.
Actually, never mind.
Donna's gonna go instead. Sprague, I loved her.
Anyone else?
You guys all seem like you were very close on the show. How was your reaction when you guys ended it?
When what?
When
You
it
guys
ended?
the show, how was your reaction when you ended
I cried for months.
He's lying.
I did.
He's so lying.
Cried.
Look, people have a hard time understanding this, but I'm going to try and be as easy on you as I can. That show meant more to the millions of people around the world than it did to us. And that doesn't mean that those 7 years weren't fucking amazing, because for me they were. But I was so relieved when it was over, because it had become so violent. He's dead. Everyone's dead. Just me and Tommy. So where would we have gone? There's no doubt that Chips and I could have started a whole new faction of something, but 7 years is such a long time to film something that I was so grateful to be on such a hit for 7 years. I couldn't wait to play someone else. But I'll never forget it. I'll never forget playing that guy, and I'll never forget the relationships that I was able to make from saying yes to a television show as a regular. All the ups and all the fucking downs was something I'll never ever forget. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Anyone else out there? What were some of your favorite memories of shooting and being on set?
Okay.
I'm like I'm like such a downer about all this stuff, but
Debbie Downer.
No, I wasn't on the set. I came to work every day to work my ass off and make the best show possible. Every fucking day. But there was, you hear so much often about practical joking on sets and blah, blah. There was no time. We shot an hour plus show in 7 days. That's a gargantuan task. And, so it was just, there's a lot of time down where you're waiting for things to happen and blah, 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 blah. And so it's generally the guys doing action stuff and blah, 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 blah. And then there's the other scenes that, there were a lot of nights because we would start on Monday, we would start at 6 o'clock in the morning, then we would shoot 14 hours minimum every day, 14 to 16 hours. And so
Fridays were Fraturdays.
Yeah.
We turned into Saturdays. We'd start at 5 in the afternoon and work till 6 o'clock in the morning. It just was every week.
For years. That's, so there's no life outside that.
And yet we didn't want anything else.
Right.
It was just for 6 months, guys. 6 months. We were in it. And as Boone said, you gotta remember, we saw those motorcycle chases and shit. So when we weren't on the main set, the boys were riding with second unit all over LA. And with very little dialogue, just writing. And as the boys got better and better and better, we did a lot of our own stunts all the time. So, yeah, from May to the end of November, it was suns. And we called it doing a timber. When it's 100 degrees, 105, 106, and we're in those leathers, we're in the, and it's the crew that really feels it. We had a little Winnebago's we could pop into. But crew members, you just go down. From not enough Gatorade, not enough water. Just down. It's in LA, it's hot. And there was no fucking around. That ain't no comedy, that show.
No, there's no jokes.
There were attempts at writing jokes in the first couple of
first two
seasons, and no. New.
And you talked about, it became like a hit, and you're like, oh, people know who I am. How long had it been airing before you started to notice that change?
I started getting invitations to motorcycle events by the end of the first season.
Sure. Sure.
Oh yeah. And that just started, and that blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
Just kept growing.
We have time for one more audience question. Anybody out there?
I don't know if you can answer it or not, but who is the worst person to work with on the show?
You. Yeah, you. You were absolutely such a pain in the ass. That beautiful smile, that stupid beard you got going on there. That beautiful colored t-shirt, you look so good in it. You. Teal. It's teal. All right, we love you guys. That was awesome. That was really awesome.